So I hope this video finds you all well. I've just got over another bout of COVID. So if you listen to any of my previous videos and you think I sound really out of breath for just sitting on the sofa, that's why. Because it knocked the stuffing out of me, as it always seems to do. But there it is. I'm just grateful I've come out the other side. So today's video, I'm going to give up just saying that it's going to be a quick video because it seems a bit difficult to do a quick video, but I'm going to try and keep it within 20 minutes. And today's video is going to look briefly at narcissism. Now, I am not a qualified psychologist. I am an armchair psychologist. That is to say, I have absolutely no psychological qualifications whatsoever. I've just got thoughts and opinions, lovely opinions, can't get enough of those, can we? Based upon what I've observed and dealt with, and from the videos that I've watched as well. And the videos are from more qualified people, so I'm going to talk a little bit about them, and you can go off and have a look at those if you want to. So what I want to look at today is for anybody who's struggling and who thinks they are with a narcissist and they're trying to square it. I think one of the problems that we have, and this is what I want to sort of focus on today, because otherwise I'll ramble all over the place. So today I want to look at specifically why people stay and why we find it so very difficult to actually admit the problems that they've got, and why we find it so extraordinarily difficult to acknowledge who they are and what they are. Now, what I mean by that is what you might find with your own behaviour or other people is you might notice a pattern of behaviour if you're dealing with a narcissist. And it can go something like this. A narcissist, especially I would be talking more about a family member or a partner, I think, rather than a friend. I think it affects you more in this way, if it's a family member or a partner. And I think what you can do is be on a bit of a merry-go-round. So basically what can happen is a narcissist can come up with something awful. Maybe they'll manipulate you or gaslight you, or really do something that jars you out of your comfort zone completely. They've done something incomprehensible. Maybe they've lied to you on such a level. Maybe the lie is such an obvious lie. But they're trying to gaslight you into thinking it's a reality. Whatever they've done, they've upset the status quo, and you're there trying to square it. Now, I think, as a normal person, what we all look to try to do when we try to square it is put it within our own frame of reference. That is to say, because you're a normal person and you're a nice person, presumably most of the time, if you're... that's my makeshift stand falling. Is that going to work? We think that's going to work. Not sure. We'll try it. Okay, so so basically, I'm just watching it now, see if it does it again. If it does it again, I'll have to come up with something else. So basically, your framework is that you're a fairly decent person, and maybe you're a fairly kind person, and maybe you're an empath, or maybe you're not an empath. Maybe you're just a kind, nice, decent person. Maybe, you know, most of the time, relatively agreeable. And so that's your frame of reference, isn't it? That's how you like to see other people. You'll go, well, they mean well. They mean well. And especially when it's your family. Because when it's your family, and maybe your partner as well, but probably more with family. Family is, you know, we're told blood is thicker than water. We're told family is really important. You put your family first. Family is this sort of intrinsic network of people who automatically love and care for each other no matter what. So there's a real psychological thing going on there when it comes to family and frame of reference. So if you've got a family member who's a narcissist and you're a relatively nice person, you cannot even begin initially to comprehend what their frame of reference looks like. So you try and put them in yours. And yours is this space of they're a nice person, they're well-meaning. They must be. At heart, they're a good person. They're a good person at heart. They're just having a bad day. They don't mean what they're doing. They're just having a bad day. Or if they've really messed you up, you can go, God, I don't know. I don't know this person anymore. I don't understand what they've done. They're really bad. Da, 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 da. But then maybe 3 months or 6 months elapse. And maybe after that time, you soften your approach. So maybe you were quite hard with them before and harsh with them before. And then maybe you go, they've had time to think about it. Maybe they're sorry. Maybe they've said, oh, I didn't mean it. And they sound quite believable and plausible because narcissists can. And again, because your frame of reference, can't even speak now. Your frame of reference, this video isn't going very well, is it? I don't want to leave it and start again, but I might have to. Your frame of reference is everyone at heart is good. Everyone at heart is good. They might not always act well. Sometimes they can act badly, but at heart they mean well. At heart they mean well, not just on a soul level, but at heart, the core of who they are as a human. And you want to be nice, right? Because that's the other thing, is as women especially, we're sort of raised to be a bit more agreeable, aren't we? And saying somebody isn't nice is a disagreeable thing to do. It's very difficult to square that, isn't it? So that would be my first thing that I would look at there. Because that is what's going to hobble you again and again and again. And you find yourself going around in a merry-go-round if you're not careful. Because they do this thing that disrupts your psyche. They do this thing. It's gaslighting, it's manipulation, it's lies, it's a something. You can't square it. You're angry with them. Some time elapses. You reason it out in your head. And because you're a reasonable, kind human being, you're reasoning it out in your head by saying, they mean well, they were just having a bad day. They mean well, oh God, they've got a lot on, they live alone, they're this, they're that, they're the other. You're making excuses for them. Because what you're trying to do is ameliorate what they've done. What you are trying to do is make what they've done palatable to your brain. So what they've done, this thing, this unconscionable thing, you have to square that with the idea of them being a good person, because that's the frame of reference you have. So therefore you must ameliorate what they're doing. You must soften what they've done. You must soften the edges of it by telling yourself the stories that they're good at heart, they mean well, they didn't mean it, they just acted out, they've had a bad day, they're going through a divorce, they've just had a bust up with a partner, they've just lost a job, they didn't mean to do that. Whatever the stories you tell yourself, this softens the edges of what they did at that point. And then that means that you move round again on the merry-go-round to this position over here. And this position over here is where you have happily squared what they've done. You've put it into a framework that fits your worldview. And they're now over here somewhere. You have sort of softened what they've done. They didn't mean it. It isn't them. They're kind at heart. Then they do it again. They do something else again that's unconscionable, that's weird, that's outrageous, that's chaotic, that's messed up, that you can't get your head around, that you can't understand. So again, you try to find ways to soften it. They didn't mean it, they're kind at heart, but look at this nice thing they did over here. But look, I remember when I was a kid and they took care of me, and so they must be kind, they must have kindness at heart, therefore they are good, therefore I will soften what they've done, and we're moving around the wheel again. What I'm going to say now probably won't come as a shock to some of you. You have to stop doing that. Your frame of reference is not the same as their frame of reference. Now, their frame of reference is that they're high on manipulation, low on empathy. They may not be able to view you with the same amount of love that you can view them. They may not even have a sense of I that is complete and coherent. They may have this jumbled various selves that they've sort of cobbled together. Because I think a lot of narcissists can actually be very self-conscious and have very low confidence in themselves, because I don't think they have this coherent, strong sense of self, so that you might find they're always looking to copy you or do what you say, or, you know. So first off is that your frame of reference isn't their frame of reference. Your frame of reference is kindness, meaning well, no manipulation, no messing around. That isn't who they are. Their frame of reference is absolutely manipulation, and absolutely it's low on empathy, you know. I read somewhere that someone with narcissism might view you with some affection in the same way that maybe you would view an object with affection. So maybe what, your car or your iPad or something like that. But that they are not necessarily capable of much deeper love than that. Now, I don't know if that's true at all. But what I do know, from what I've read, what I've seen on the videos, on YouTube, etc., is that they are not usually capable of change. It doesn't mean in some miraculous cases maybe they could. I just haven't seen or heard of cases where they could. And I think maybe Jesus could come along and heal them. Who knows? I absolutely believe in the power of God and the power of miracles and Lord knows what, but we don't see many of those either. So for the most part, they cannot change. And so your problem is that you are trying to push them into this frame of reference that isn't true. In other words, you're bending the truth to make reality palatable for you. But it isn't working, and you're just going round the same merry-go-round again and again and again. And so you have to stop and you have to go, this person doesn't necessarily mean well. This person wants to protect themselves at all cost. And that might mean lying to you. That might mean using you. That might mean pushing you to breaking point if they get what they want. It probably isn't personal. You're just collateral damage. You're just someone who just happens to have something they want. They want to manipulate, or they want something from you. Now, if you want to try to make this palatable in any way, you can absolutely have compassion for the narcissist as a child, because it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that narcissists are not born narcissists, but they're made. So it's a nurture versus nature thing. It's kind of their childhood. Something horrible has happened to them in their childhood, and it's like a series of defense mechanisms that's changed the wiring of their brain. And that's kind of what I get from this. So I get the idea that, you know, in order to cope, in order to survive, perhaps, they've had to tell all these enormous whopping lies and use people. And maybe that was a survival mechanism that they felt they needed when they were, who knows, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, who knows. But obviously, as the years have gone on and now they're adults, they absolutely don't need to treat the world as a threat. And they don't need to try and control everything or manipulate everything or lie to get what they want in every situation, pretty much, or mix truth with lies and try and gaslight you. But no one's told their brain that. And their brain just does what it does. It's going through the motions. Some of them might have some awareness about what they're doing, and they might have some inkling of what they are. But they're probably not able to act on it, or they're not willing to act on it. The trouble is, as well, is they can be very charming when they want to be. So if they want to apologise to you and say, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I understand it was silly and I was an idiot and I was young and I'll never do that again. And because you've got your frame of reference as this person must be nice, really, you'll go, well, maybe. Give them another chance. They didn't mean it. da 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 da, and round the merry-go-round they go. So what you've got to do really is change your frame of reference. Change your frame of reference. Not to hate them, because hate is the most self-poisoning emotion there is. Sure, you can get angry if they mess you up. Anger can be a positive emotion in terms of it can be a motivational force to get us to put down boundaries, stand up for ourselves. But you can't allow anger to turn to hate. You can't allow that to happen. Because that's the most self-poisoning, damaging emotion there is. So yes, you can have empathy for the young them that has led to this whole sorry affair, you know. I often say there's no winners in a narcissistic situation. Even if you get out and you escape and you get your life back and you get healthy boundaries and you become a bit more healed psychologically if they've given you a really rough time, there's no winners in terms of if it's a family member, etc. Really, the only advice you'll ever see is that you have to kind of walk away. If you're in this sort of situation at all, the only advice that I ever see is put the distance in between you and this person. And some people will say, well, maybe you can just maintain healthy boundaries. The problem is, if a narcissist doesn't want you to have boundaries, once they sense you've put a boundary up, they try and ride roughshod over them, unless they're happy with the boundary, in which case they won't. But if the boundary affects them in a negative way and they don't like it, they will do everything they can, kick, scream, till they're blue in the face to get that boundary removed. They'll tell you the boundary isn't there. The boundary wasn't needed, you know? You don't need a boundary. You love them. They love you. It's fine. You've got a great relationship. No need for any silliness, you know? So the best advice I could give anyone who's watching this and who thinks, oh, yeah, maybe there's a point there, is, you know, obviously watch some videos, read up on narcissism, because the best advice I could give anybody who thinks they're dealing with a narcissist is read up on narcissists, watch videos about them, because what you need is a framework. You need to understand what their framework is. Until you know they're a narcissist, until you understand that's what they are, what you probably have is this confusing mix of stuff that they've done that you don't understand at all, and it's weird. And it gives you a framework with which to operate. And that framework is a godsend, because suddenly you understand their motivations. And if you understand their motivations, you can guard yourself against the results, the actions that they're likely to come up with. So the people that have influenced me are people like Dr. Ramani. I find her videos amazing. She's on YouTube. Well, I don't know if he's a doctor. He's certainly a psychologist. Richard Grannon, he's on YouTube. H.G. Tudor, he comes at this from the angle of, he says he's a narcissist, and actually the ultra narcissist. Wouldn't it be like a narcissist to see yourself in that regard? But he comes up with some very interesting videos as well, analysing various celebrities and their behaviours. You can come to see various techniques that a narcissist might utilise, so that's very interesting too. And Dr. Todd Grande is, I believe, he might be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but again, his videos are very, very good. I think he's a psychiatrist. Very matter of fact, very logical, just lays it out. So I would go there. And then, of course, there's going to be all sorts of other people as well. But yes, it was just a video about that, about where you might be going wrong because of your own kindness. Because sometimes kindness and wanting to be nice and agreeable can work against us. And it doesn't mean you have to be less nice or agreeable in other situations. It's just about having good boundaries and going, okay, I can have empathy for this person at a distance, but I don't want to let them near me because they will continue their behaviour, which I can't deal with. So as a sort of self-protection mechanism, you have to keep them at a distance. So yeah, that's me for today. Hope this video finds you well and hope it's been of use to someone. All right, take care and good night.